Alright, hey guys, I completely forgot that I had watched this movie and therefore completely forgot to make a review. And the reason I completely forgot is because this is quite a forgettable movie. It's not something that you're going to want to talk about like, months after watching it because it's just one of those like weekend films, you just go, you watch something just to get your mind off stuff, then you forget about it, and that's exactly what I did, unfortunately. Regardless, I want to tell you that honestly, the first experience I had with this film was rather positive. I think this was a really, really fun film. Like the first time I watched it, it was really fun. I was enjoying like most of it. I think the even these beginning parts of like Dwayne Johnson running over like these like running through this shop, and Emily Blunt like being chased by these people, and the little ruckus they have in like these docks before they actually set sail sort of, and they take the ship to go up the stream into the into the jungle. Basically, like all those scenes were really fun, and then finally when they do go into the jungle, it kind of felt like watching this like sort of like we haven't had many jungle movies in a while, have we? We haven't really had any of these fun sort of like like anything like George in the Jungle, the Mummy, Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider. We haven't really had these kind of sort of like a treasure hunter type stories, treasure island type stories, seeking lost treasure, ancient tombs, exploration. I always like these sorts of stuff, and these they always excite me. And this story, I felt really just made put me into the tone of that, and the entire experience of it. Seeing the what do you call this, the tribesmen and all of that. It really reminded me of that. Now, first of all, this is a completely family-friendly movie. There's not going to be any, stakes, any significant deaths, none of that whatsoever. Like even though they make you feel like there's constant threat of danger, there's absolutely none. Like all the villains look absolutely terrifying, but they do nothing to the main cast. There's no one who's ever like injured or wounded or anything that's near or even close to death. The only one whose life is ever threatened is Dwayne Johnson, who turns out to be actually immortal as well. Together with all of these villains who look really terrifying, but actually mean no harm. So, this guy, I found him absolutely hilarious. Of course, he's not meant to be hilarious. I think he's supposed to actually be a little bit, what do you call this, menacing as well. But he does do his quips, and yeah, they're okay. His jokes are okay. But The Rock really had a lot of these like puns at the beginning, and I found it really funny. Like it didn't feel too forceful and whatever, because it's obvious that they were puns and he was just making a joke, and it's nice to laugh at things like that. But in serious moments, in like in between fight scenes, when there are jokes, that's what really takes the immersion out. And this movie actually didn't have that many of it. It actually had decent pauses between certain moments, but it also kept the engine running. Like I felt this movie was really fast paced. It didn't really give you time to stop and think of what's really happening. It kept the film moving. There were always continuously things happening, people chasing someone, them losing the little, I don't know, they were using some kind of tool to go and seek the treasure, and they were looking for it, and finally when they found it and whatever, they wanted to use it. There were some people who were coming after it and all these sorts of things, like a typical treasure hunting stuff. You need a key to unlock this doorway that will lead you to the greater treasure, blah blah. So the treasure that they're looking for in this story is a type of kind of petal of a flower, and apparently it has these amazing like healing properties of some sort. So Emily Blunt here plays as some sort of a doctor who has come to find this ingredient so that she can actually save lives. And Dwayne Johnson admits that he was like a, that he was here all this while looking for it but never found it. But in reality, he actually was one of the few people to ever find it, and he was also the guy who charted the maps that Emily Blunt is now using hundreds and hundreds of years later. So he's not that old. He's only like a 200 or 300-year-old character, but he's old enough to be here since the Inquisition period, which is when the, I believe they were Spaniards or something, and they came to sort of explore these lands, and they found these magic miracle petals that apparently give you eternal life or something. And they sort of cast like there was a curse that was cast on them by the villagers, And part of the curse that was cast on them was because I believe they went and killed the villagers or something, like tortured them or something. So the village leader at the time actually cast a curse on them, which says that you can't ever lose sight of the river. It's a very interesting curse. I've never heard of a curse working that way, but essentially they can never leave the jungle, which doesn't make sense to me because, like, let's say, right, let's say someone comes to your house, right, and they beat up your family. Would you curse them so that they never lose sight of your house, or would you curse them so that they leave your house forever? Right? Have you thought about that? So the way this village leader cursed these people, it's so that they forever are stuck in this jungle with the village people that they initially tortured. So yeah, that whole curse thing is a little bit tricky for me. I hope maybe you guys have a better explanation. Maybe you can help me out with this because I never really understood why he would do that. Like if he cursed them to say that I curse you so that you can never come back to the jungle, that would make perfect sense. Like if you come back to the jungle, you turn to stone. 100% agree with you. But the way he cursed them is so that they always are there, which was weird. But regardless, the curse works in such a way that even if these people are away from the river and walled off in some corner, like they're just kept in a cave or whatever, even though the river is beside them, they will still turn to stone, which is also unique because I'm not sure if that means like I don't know what's the relativity of it. I don't really want to question it, but it felt a little bit strange because some of the people who are now cursed, right, who turn into like these snakes and whatever weird bee guy, snake guy, all these weird creatures, they are not. They're still in the jungle. They're still in the jungle. They're just like in this like a ditch or something. I'm pretty sure rainwater falls in the ditch, but regardless, when the German guy, this guy was playing as a German guy, brings some of the river water and pours it on these vines, they resurrect. Which doesn't make sense because the rainwater should be also water from the river to resurrect them. I'm not sure how this whole thing works. And if here they can turn into stone and whatever, that means if they are on the surface and they still don't see the river, like they're hiding behind a tree, do they still turn to stone? Like I okay, and you know what? Forget about it. I don't want to push any further on this logic. I think it makes no sense. But regardless, they were cursed. All right, they were cursed in such a unique way that it's plot convenient enough for them to be this way. But the Rock is not affected because he turned out to be the guy who's handling the jungle cruise. Therefore, he's always close to the river, so he never turns to stone. Yeah, something like that. Emily Blunt actually brings in this guy, this actor Jack Whitehall. I can't remember what's his character's name, but he was hilarious. I found him really funny, and he was really the comic relief I think we all deserved in this film. Honestly, McGregor, and her name is Lily, right? So McGregor really played an interesting part in the story, being the sort of the pivot between the jokes of The Rock and Emily Blunt. And yeah, he's a decent character. I just wish that he had more of some sort of a redemption arc because he's the character that comes in and he's so obviously like not like he's like the beta male character. He's not the alpha because Dwayne Johnson has to be the alpha in every film that he's in. So this guy is sort of the non-alpha character. Emily Blunt is more alpha than him. He's like sort of the soft brother who is like he likes his makeup and his costumes and I mean not it's not his costumes, his clothing and whatever, and he's more attached to all this material stuff. He's not so very manly or whatever, macho, I think, as you can put it. But I feel that they should have given him a slightly better redemption arc where he actually plays a more important role in taking out the villains or something like that maybe. But he doesn't really end up doing it. It's mostly between The Rock and Emily Blunt, because he gets left behind because he actually gets wounded in one of the scenes where he tries to help Emily Blunt or something, and he gets wounded by one of the villains and something like that, and he has to be taken back to be treated. That part really like it really killed me because I felt that They should have kept him to the end. Like they should have shown him actually be useful in the end fight and playing like an important role. Maybe even making a sacrifice. I think would have made really real sense, because if you think about it, she's looking for a petal that can save the entire world. Like if you think that not even a single life was sacrificed for this, I think it really doesn't make any sense. I mean, obviously lives were lost, right? People in the jungle were killed, in the fight. There were people wounded, but the main characters that we have grown to love in this story are three people. It's basically The Rock, Emily Blunt, and her brother. And you expect at least one of the three to go down, right? But nothing happens. I feel they played it too safe. Like they should have given some sort of character redemption or something like that. But regardless, Dwayne Johnson has a story where he shows this emotional side where he turns out that, oh, I'm actually one of the Inquisitors who came and who also wanted to look for glory and gold and whatever. And I was also cursed to never lose sight of the river. And as a result, I'm giving jungle cruises for the rest of my life. And I found that strange and funny and still interesting at the same time. I thought the entire concept of it was okay. The CGI and the graphics in the story is not that good, honestly. But I understand. Like, it just looks like it's a film that was made 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. That's it. That's the only complaint I have. But it's not bad CGI by any means, okay? There are people who still make bad CGI. This is not bad. It's just that it looks old. It looks like the CGI has been done better like these days. Like, look at the lighting effects in the snake. It does not look realistic. It really looks plastic. Like a real snake would have skin that doesn't really shine this much, because this would be too obvious when it's hunting, be it day or night. Even a shimmer of light, shining off the scales of snakes would make it too easy for its prey to spot it coming. So it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, then there's this animated leopard. Like, okay, it has like some kind of animation, but it's too easy to spot the outlines. And it doesn't really feel like it really feels out of place. I would have been impressed if they actually brought a real animal, but I think that there are rules against bringing in endangered species as cost and whatever. I don't think leopards are endangered as much as tigers and lions, but I do believe that they may fall in the similar category, or they may just not have a Hollywood leopard at the moment that's available. Maybe it's too expensive to hire them. I don't know how it works. Regardless, the CGI was not the best way probably to do it. I think they could have just used a monkey. A monkey is fine. Like a monkey is not the worst thing in the world. You can get plenty of trained monkeys. Cinema monkeys, they're pretty good. Anyway, those are just my points. Yeah, as for the story itself, it's decent. The moments in the story and the plots of the story is just whatever. Like it's brain dead. It's like any kid could have written this and it would have been fine. The villains actually look scary and they're pretty impressive. I was surprised when I saw how creepy the villains look like. And I was thinking to myself, like, is this still like family friendly? Because if you have snakes crawling out of the villain's face, I think it's pretty creepy for kids, like especially little kids, like 8-year olds, 9-year olds who are going to watch this. I think they can get really bad nightmares, and I think this is what this movie really intended to do, is create some nightmares for them. Look at this. This is the CGI of the leopard. To me, this looks like an animation. Like if I just look at this scene alone, it looks like this scene is from an animation that I'm watching. But can you imagine that leopard was next to like Dwayne Johnson in some scenes? Like even here, you can actually see certain points. Like this is a decent shot. This is probably like the best shot of the leopard, because there are certain shots where when it's moving around, especially, it's super obvious that it's just not part of the scene. Like this one, it's super obvious that it's not part of the scene. Um, I think Tom and Jerry had better shadows, to be honest. Yeah, Tom and Jerry actually had decent shadows. So yeah, anyway, this German guy had a really hilarious role where he comes to look for this treasure of this flower petal, and he believes he can help him create an army of super soldiers and eternal life and train them to be super strong and whatever, all these things. And he comes to awaken these other inquisitors who were cursed and whatever, and gets their help to try to help him find the treasure. So he's one of the main villains essentially. And yeah, that's the gist of the story. So overall, in the end, basically what happens. Sorry, in the end, what happens is that they do find the petal, and it turns out only a single petal, would be left, or something like that. And it looks like Emily Blunt was given the petal, and she won't be able to do anything about about the rock. But wait, let me see if I can find a photo of the flower. I can't really seem to find the flower. But anyway, there was one moment like in the end where I thought this film could really like look at this CGI, it's horrible. Where I thought the film was actually going to show us like a choice being made. So anyway, they're looking up at this tree, right? This tree is where the flowers bloom, and apparently it only blooms during moonlight or something. And there's some you can see those pink vines. Those are the petals. This is one of the petals that she has. So finally, there was actually a scene where Emily has to make a decision. She actually has to choose whether she wants to use the flower for her research to save millions of lives, or use it to save Dwayne Johnson from the curse that is affecting all the other Inquisitors. So if she uses the waters from the healing flower, the Rock will get back his life. He can live the rest of his life off as a regular human being and die of age, or she can use the petal for her research. And so she decides to actually save the Rock. And I thought that was a really selfish thing to do. At the same time, it felt honest to the feelings that she had for him and would have been a decent conclusion to the story. Like we all watched The Last of Us, where, what's his name? Uh, what's her name? Ellie was lied to, right? And like we were not upset that she was lied to. We knew that she was lied to in the end, and we knew Joel loved her so much that he wanted to protect her, so he lied to her. And it's not the ideal decision to make, but he cared about having her in his life more than saving the world. And I felt that this was similar to that. She cared about having the Rock in her life more than saving the world. But guess what? They ruin it like just 10 seconds later, right? Apparently the last moonlight hits a branch and then more flowers still bloom, and then she actually managed to save another petal, which allows her to continue her research and save the world. So the this entire plot point of her saving the last petal to help the Rock was thrown out the window, because 5 seconds later she actually finds another petal and she helps save the world. So yeah, as I said, this is a brain dead film. You can switch your brain off, go watch it, and then forget about it, which is what I did, which is why I couldn't really remember that I watched this movie. And it's super forgettable. The plot is meh, whatever, but it was fun. It was a fun story, and I think kids can watch it. But going to this film as an adult or as a grown up is really difficult to watch it. I feel that they could have made it such that you know they can find a balance between the two, where both adults and children can enjoy it. I feel that there were a lot of films done in such a way that both people could enjoy, like Jumanji was one of them. I really felt that anyone can enjoy that. Indiana Jones can be enjoyed by anyone. Even George of the Jungle, as brain dead as it can be, is enjoyable by anyone. But this film, it tries to bring the stakes up and show you that maybe there is a decision to be made. Turns out that it doesn't really matter, because plot armor is going to help everyone here, and they'll always find a way out in any situation that they're in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So as for the like the tomb hunting and the treasure hunting, and like the puzzle solving and all that, it was meh, nothing. It's like a 5-minute puzzle. Anyone could have solved it. Nothing really special. This is a scene where the Rock turns into stone. She has to use the petal flower water to revive him or whatever. I feel that they should have at least shown some cooler puzzles. Like, this is really creepy, right? Look at this guy. This is insane. Kids shouldn't be watching. This is creepy. And like they could have shown some cooler puzzles, something to solve in the jungle, some mystery, some kind of clue, some kind of riddle or something. But none of that was actually shown. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna pull out my rating for this film. You can expect it would be horrendous, but it's not the worst, I think. Let's see. Animations out, stories out, 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 out. There we go. It's a 2 out of 10 film. If you ask me, what's nice about this film is that it's fun. The experience of this film, like if you just switch your brain off and watch this film, it is fun. But it has a plot with no weight. It has nice characters, like all the Emily Blunt's character, her brother's character, The Rock's character. Even the villains are okay, right? All of them did their part. Everyone did something that they required to. The story itself is decent. It's just that the design of the story, like I said, the way the curse works, the fact that the choice had made no point, the fact that the brother was left behind, and also the villain itself as well doesn't really have many defining moments. He is not scary or intimidating in any way. It's just this funny guy, and it's a comedy for the most part. And when you're carrying such a serious tone into a comedy movie, you gotta decide. You gotta pick a side. Do you want to really go comedy, or do you want to go not comedy? If you go not comedy, you can't protect the characters too much. You have to make them make some choices to show that there are stakes. Or you have to go full comedy and show George of the Jungle style. He swings from a branch to another branch, grabs all the flowers he needs, and saves the world. And this movie couldn't really decide that, and I feel that these things need to be defined. And as for the graphics, as I said, nothing impressive. The music was nothing impressive, honestly. I think there was one decent song when they actually explored up the river. I forgot the name, but I listened to it once after the film. But I felt that that was pretty nice. It was really jungle cruisy song. I listened to it while I was doing some work and whatever. But other than that, the action scenes and whatever didn't have very impressive songs or anything memorable. Maybe there's something if I listen to it two or three more times. Sometimes some songs take a while for you to pick up. But yeah, that's about it. That's the gist of it for me. For me, this was an absolutely horrible movie. I think you can watch it once and completely forget about it. And even if you don't watch it, it doesn't really matter. Jungle Cruise is not going to be anywhere close to the likes of others. Like so many other movies. That's way way better. Let me look for more like this. Are you kidding me? How are these more like this? These don't even make sense. Like these are not even related to the jungle stuff. What? Wrath of Man. Old. Okay, I think IMDb is drunk. Uh, yeah, IMDb is seriously drunk. Give me a sec. Let me find another similar movie. Alright, let's see what these are. So, jungle-centered films. Apocalypse Now. Yeah, okay, that's pretty decent. Fitzcarraldo. I've actually never watched this. I've heard about it though. Wrath of God. No, I never watched that. Mission. No. Tarzan. Yeah, Tarzan's a pretty good film. Tarzan's definitely better than this. King Kong is definitely better than this. I think all the King Kongs are better than this. I never watched this Mowgli's one, but I watched the Jungle Book. Jungle Book's definitely better. Emerald Forest. Yeah, okay, that's a pretty creepy one. Let's see. Jungle Girl, Ghost of Darkness. Okay, these are getting actually really strange. Jungle. Oh, this one. With Daniel Radcliffe. I think this movie is still better too. Yeah, honestly, I think it's pretty good. Even Predator. I think Predator is a pretty good movie as well. All the Rambo movies are nice. Indiana Jones is nice. Okay, these are getting really kinky. I think these are not the suitable options for us to look at jungle films. But yeah, anyway, Jungle Cruise is actually based off the game. Like, if you've ever been to an arcade, I think you would have seen Jungle Cruise. I'm not sure if you guys have played it. The Lion King, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jurassic Park. Yeah, yeah. I think these are closest to Zootopia. Blood Diamond. Blood Diamond is an amazing film. Um, let's see what else is there. Life of Pi. Now, Life of Pi is not a jungle movie. What the hell? It's like more of a sea movie, right? Paddington too. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting genre, and it had a void, which is why I was happy to see this film. Like we haven't had a film where there's like, this guy that takes people in adventure through a jungle to look for treasure. I haven't had that feeling in a while. It reminds me of Anaconda, the Blood Orchid, right? That is a story that this was closest to, because the flower that they depicted in this story was very close to the depiction of the blood orchid in Anacondas. And I think it's the second Anacondas movie, Anaconda Blood Hunt for the Blood Orchid or something. Yeah, the Hunt for the Blood Orchid. There we go. This one. So the plot I feel was very similar to this film, where the group actually goes looking for this orchid that apparently is a secret to eternal life. And because the anacondas have been living and churning these orchids, is the reason why they have grown to be extremely large and extremely deadly. And that's why they've lived for hundreds and thousands, hundreds of years, not thousands, sorry, hundreds of years. And that's why they're so deadly. And I feel that if this movie can get a 4.7 rating, oops, sorry, this is The Witcher. Yeah, if this film can get the 4.7 rating, I don't see how Yeah, Jungle Cruise can get anything higher. I think these are just overhyped films. Yeah, it's just overhyped. 6.6. It needs another 6 there to show what the reality of this film is. So anyway, it's a 2 out of 10 for me. I want to know what you guys think about it. Whether I missed out anything about the concept of the curse as well. I'm really interested to know why he cursed it such that they don't never lose sight of the river. Is it because even if they take the treasure, they can't leave? I feel that they should have just made it such that if they don't leave, they turn to stone, right? And if they take the treasure, they turn to stone. I think those would have been more straightforward curses. Uh, but yeah, anyway, that's just me probably thinking at it a little bit too, too high level or something like that. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.